When you're ready. Yeah, you can go ahead and start recording now. I'm just gonna go share my screen real quick. And then we'll take it from there. And okay. Slideshow one. Good. Okay. All right, welcome. I want to first thank everybody, and I have a whole slide of thank yous, but I want to thank everybody who volunteered for Field Day, who participated in Field Day. Who promoted Field Day. This was, I think, one of our better field days, not just in the numbers, but in the just in the general atmosphere. You know, it was not a situation where we, had a lot to battle. We didn't have winds or storms or, it was a very, very good field day from that perspective. And what the purpose of this is just a wrap up. And you know what? We do these every year because I think it's important. I think one of the reasons why we have a quality field day is every year we work to incorporate, lessons learned from the previous year to make the next year better. And we had some really good in-flight things happen this year that I'm going to talk about that, in previous years, Ed and I were, I gave Ed a ride because if anybody's ever ridden with Ed, it's better to have him be the passenger than the guy behind the wheel. So while we were driving in, I love you, Ed, but while we were driving in, I just don't want to die your passenger. While we were driving in,
you have to go on your own.
One thing that Ed and I talked about, and Dennis, we just started field day, and we're like, man, what is this interference? And we couldn't, and we determined it's the G5RV. The ladder lines radiating. Oh. And I think what is indicative of this field day that made it different than a lot of others, in a lot of other field days, we might have just put up with it. But I think we've gotten so good at the dynamics of raising and lowering antennas and reconfiguring that we were able to really quickly get that G5RV out of there and install another antenna. And the idea is that we made that adjustment during the event. And we still had, and you'll see, really good numbers. And I think that speaks a lot about where we are as a club. We also worked out which band filters go where and who should be on what band. And we even got it down to how much power should we be using. So once we dialed it in, we were able to produce some really, really good numbers. Now, what we did is we made sure not to document any of this. So we get an opportunity to do it all again next year. But
we didn't take down the G5RV.
We just took it out of the loop. We just did. Yeah, you're right.
We moved it to the GOTA station.
Yeah, Is that what we did? Yeah. Okay. Well, well, that's right. We didn't take it down. We reconfigured and put GOTA on the G5RV. And that way, because GOTA is only transmitting once in a while, whereas the other stations are on all the time. Yeah. You're right. So long story short, we took it out, and we need to remember what vertical, huh?
The vertical.
Oh, we used my vertical on my truck out in the parking lot.
Digital.
That's an Eagle 1 vertical, by the way. But anyhow, with a 9-to-1 onion on the bottom of it. I like this opening slide. This is Dennis working CW, which are worth 2, by the way, double. And with Joe logging W2PVY. We already have an enhancement for next year. When Joe logs CW next year, I'm going to have some accessibility software installed. So when he pushes the keys, he will hear the letter that he is pushing. That way he knows he's getting it right while he's logging.
But regardless, Joe, I was watching you, your error rate was 0.
Yeah.
Well,
kill us.
awesome.
Be damn careful.
You did a great job.
So what we're gonna go over really quickly are the areas of responsibility. Here we see, 2 young visitors going out with their tape measure, 2-meter antennas, getting ready for a fox hunt, I think. So we're gonna talk about what I call the areas of responsibility. You guys are probably sick of hearing that because I've been doing this for 8 years now. And this is the way I always do field days. Well, yeah, this is my 8th year as chairman. The QSO report, which is always fun, talking about points, a little bit of that, and that's a component of it. And finally, I really want to have a good brainstorm session for our thoughts for 2027.
Donate $300.
Oh, yeah, I'll mention that too. So I always keep this same slide up. Everybody has a different idea of what makes a successful field day. You could look at any event. It doesn't even have to be field day. It could literally be anything, and you could find a problem with it. Yeah, the Steelers won, but the beer was warm and expensive. Right? So no matter what you're doing, you could find a challenge. But the thing is, for every club event, not just field day, we're all volunteers. I don't think anybody got a paycheck. Larry, did we cut any paychecks for? No, nobody got a paycheck for field day. There were no consultant fees paid. We all want any event we do to be successful, whether it's Dave Damon with a bike event, whether it's, a VE session, whether it's, a monthly meeting or field day. And we all measure success differently. Steelers won, beer was warm. Now it depends on your priorities, which matters the most. But, so I'm pretty excited about this picture. And Joe, what this picture is Carisha Graham. And this is she is the, one of the reporters for CBS 19. To my knowledge, I've only been coming to this club's field day since 2018, 2017, right, 2018. I have never seen the reporter that comes to cover field day get on the air. I don't think it's ever happened. And this is her, and she's in the log, and she got the certificate. Thank you, Bill Pond. Another volunteer, there's Bill Pond, our go-to coach. And that was the absolute coolest thing I've ever seen. I almost broke out in tears when I looked over and saw her with a mic in her hand. Because to me, what better promotion when the reporter herself, and this is a clip from the broadcast. This is a screenshot from the broadcast. She included in the broadcast herself getting on the air. And I thought that was just one of the coolest things. And big time hats off to Russ Sawyer, who absolutely destroyed publicity this year. He had a radio interview. We had 2 television spots. We had 2 print articles and multiple digital articles. It was an extremely successful public relations effort. But we all measure success differently, right? But to me, this right here, that's a successful field day. All right, this will go quick. Areas of responsibility. I was a chairman again, kind of fell into it. But I feel like we had good communication with the volunteers. I am going to totally redo the volunteer form. I'm going to make it a lot more simple. I think it's way too granular and robust. And I also want to make it so when you click and you submit your form to volunteer, I'm going to set it up so it automatically emails whoever is responsible for any areas they volunteered, so that you will automatically get notified you've got a volunteer. All right. So that's one of the improvements I want to do with the volunteer form. That'd be pretty slick. The facilities, the shelter, the fridge. Thank you, everybody who helped set up and take down. We're going to talk about take down in a little bit, but I can tell you personally, even though we got a little bit of rain on Sunday. I don't know about you guys, but at the end of field day, if you are there and you were there all day Sunday, I am spent at the end of field day. It was all we could do just to get the rigs put away, everything put away, the tables put away, the chairs put away, the trailer partially loaded, I personally really liked leaving the shelters up, going back a couple days later after you got some rest and taking them down. Now, some of you may say, no, got it out, Bob. But I can tell you, we only had 5 people show up on Tuesday to take them down. Thank you. Who else was there? I missed somebody. No, not in the room. No, John. John's always there. Who was it? It was you and who's that guy that hangs with you a lot? Your husband.
It was not.
He wasn't? Oh, but who was that guy? No, I'm just kidding. Who was the other one that showed up? Shoot. John, I think 4 of us are in the room.
Was Bill Oleski there?
Who was the other guy? Anyhow, there were 5 of us and we got her done.
Video.
Yeah, there were 5 of us and we got it done. But I liked that because I was so tired on Sunday. That actually was refreshing. We just went to yellow on that projector every time. We're gonna talk about points and how that worked out. The publicity of the invitation, Russ did a fantastic job. In fact, one of the only areas we were missing, and I thought we had somebody committed, is we did not have an elected official this year. There were very few bonus points we missed out on. Youth on the air and elected official were the 2 biggest ones where we could have got a little more bonus points. I'm really happy I think we learned a lot about antennas this year. I think we learned that, Joe, your antenna performed pretty well for us. Thank you. That antenna, that was a fan dipole, not the magic fan.
Loaded.
This was a loaded fan dipole, worked well. And we had that along with an off-center fed dipole, and then that worked pretty well. So pretty happy with the antennas this year, one of our better years. The transceivers, we had two Yaesu FT7 tons. So that's always good.
Not a bad rig after.
Not a bad rig.
After the 7300.
And then Dennis had his rig, and then I got to spend quality time on 80 meters in the middle of the night with Kenwood TS who?
TS590.
A Kenwood TS 590. What a beautiful audio receive that rig had. I forgot how good Kenwood could be because I started out with a Kenwood and I saw the AC light. Operator scheduling, John did a fantastic job of posting the schedule and coordinating the operators. I think we did a really good job of honoring the schedule where appropriate. Sometimes if somebody didn't show up or there were an overlap or somebody was on a roll.
Sometimes someone showed up and I would just say, well, take my slot.
Yeah.
I wanted people to get on the air.
Yeah, exactly. We had a total of 14 operators this year. We had a total of 14 different operators, and we're gonna go through that real quick. Again, GOTA, Bill Pond, thank you so much, Bill. You did a great job as the coach. Again, seeing the news reporter on the GOTA was amazing. Tanya, you destroyed education. It was fantastic. Thank you. She picked that up when Benjamin wasn't able to handle it. Benjamin, I know, gave you a lot of assistance and helped you along the way. And thank you, Tanya. It's beautiful. And those kids got a lot of airtime. The youth got a lot of airtime on that spot. If you haven't seen the spot on CBS website, you could just do a search on Radio Field Day on the CBS 19 website and just search on Radio Field Day and search, and you'll see it come up. You can watch the video again. It was on I think it was on 3
We
different.
were actually
time
the
slots.
lead story on Saturday night. We were the lead story.
Yep. And Ed, hey, Food Lion Chicken. I mean, I know we're recording, but not a plug, but the Food Line chicken's amazing. I don't think people realize how cheap and it's inexpensive and good it is. And of course, pizza. You can't go wrong with chicken and pizza. And I had my first taste of mushroom pineapple pizza. I'm in. I'm in. Safety, nobody died. It's always good. Nobody bled. We didn't need a first aid kit. No one was electrocuted. So everyone was alive. No one was bleeding.
Ross.
We didn't, generators, we didn't burn down the field behind the fire company. They did great. Just two Honda EU 2000Is, you know, yours is a 2200, I think. But
Mine's a 2000.
yours 200
Yeah.
and PC land and logging. I will tell you that did not happen overnight. You know, we made an investment long before field day to buy 4 mini PCs. We kept the same keyboards and mice and monitors, but those mini PCs running Windows 11 Pro, set up on a Netgear 600 router, and we just ran wireless. And I just hooked them all up TCP/IP on a dedicated private network. We had auto logging for digital. M3FJP was automatically managing and logging from digital and automatically managing duplicates. For example, for field day, if you worked AL7DB on 20 meters with FT8, but you also worked AL7DB later on 20 meters FT4, N3FJP will not log it.
It's a digital.
It's still digital. Remember, field day is the only modes in field day are phone, CW, and digital. So FT4 20 meter and FT8 20 meter would be a dupe.
It'd be like working someone on upper and lower side.
Yeah, exactly. So remember that for field day, if you ever do it on your own and if you're on the Zoom call, if you work field day, remember, if you're doing FT4 and FT8, it is a duplicate if you contact the same station on the same band using even those 2 different modes. So good to know if you didn't know that. However, N3FJP did manage it under the covers. Go ahead, Dennis.
Your knockout performance on 75 meters
Oh, well,
was great because when I went to work somebody, it filled in.
okay.
So I knew I had the,
Do you know people who you think are like being really, really nice to you and doing something really, really thoughtful for you? And you come to find out later it was completely self-serving on their part?
all the time.
This is what happened to me at field day. Little old innocent Dennis over here. I fully intended to work CW field day, but I can only work like 12, maybe 15 if I've had a lot of coffee, and that's it, a minute. So what does Dennis do? He brings over the Goda rig, the TS590, because somehow he knew I'd love it. He brought it over and set it down in front of me. He goes, you know, maybe you could work some phone tonight. You know, maybe it has maybe 75 meters. And then you know what he does? It was kind of humid and sticky. He gets a fan and he puts the fan down next to me and he turns it on nice and low. Then he adjusts his light, you know, and he goes, okay, I'm going to go to my car now. And he set me up. And he knew what I was going to do with all that. So I worked pile up after pile up. I got on a frequency, and you know what happens when I get on a frequency. And, or if I only want to talk to Americans, when I get on a frequency, I'm on a frequency. And I made about 170, 180 QSOs in a very short period of time. And so when Dennis gets back, he comes back later in the morning and he goes, hey, Bob, he goes, this is great. He goes, I already know all these, you know, everything's already coming up because N3FJP, as soon as you hear the call sign, it brings them up. So now I know they're 4 alpha and they're in North Carolina, you know. So it was pre-populating his CW making it easier for him to log.
Based on a localized data.
Yeah, so yeah, from N3 FJP. So, because I made all those contacts and now he's working the same stations on CW.
Even if it's a different base.
So Dennis, thank you for setting me up for setting you up. So that was great. I mean, I had a lot of fun. I didn't make one CW contact this year.
Thank God.
Thank God.
We only have the room till 10 o'clock.
Oh, shut up. So here, I really feel you might want to look over here. I'm sorry that makes it really hard to see. But okay, recognize that if you just look at historically, if you just look at, these are just number of QSOs. Okay, so in 2024, we had, I'm not gonna go through the whole thing, but you can see, you know, why, biggest reason for this dip in a lot of the QSOs last year, we had that really bad storm in the middle of field day. And we all had to go sit inside, and we did not operate for, I don't know how many hours.
Several hours.
It was a lot, so we had a big
Also,
disruption.
conditions sucked last.
So if you look at the QSOs, you know, compared to, you know, 2024 is probably more fair comparison. You know, we're literally up in every area. If you look at the bands, this is just the band performance. This is this year only on the right side. But you know, I only made 138 QSOs on 80. But you can see that it was a pretty good spread. But there's a better way you can see what we did. Is looking at this historical data. And this is all available, it'll be available on the website. But if you just look at the difference between 2018 was an amazing year for phone. I think in 2018, we were at the comm center. And that was the first year I think I ever operated at field day. And I had a crazy year, my first year. And I sort of built a reputation because I think that first year I had like 600 phone QSOs. I don't know what got into me, but it was like the biggest year I've ever had was the first year I ever worked field day. Because I thought that's how you always operated. Because when I lived in Alaska, every time I got on the air, it was a pile up. You know, as soon as they heard a real loud booming voice in Alaska, everybody wants to work here. So I thought pileups were normal. So I had a lot of training before I started building. But if you still look, I mean, if you look at this year, 2026 for phone, you know, biggest year we've had in, you know, quite a while. If you look at CW, oh, hold on a minute. I gotta call you back. Hold on a second. Sorry about that.
Bob, was 2019 the first year that digital was used at field day?
Yeah, if you look, 2019 was the first year for digital.
Prior to that.
And if you look at what digital has done, you know, this was the biggest year we've ever had. And if you look at the percentage, it went from 329 to 449. You know, a lot more digital QSOs. And I think a lot of it has to do with the logging. You know, the auto logging, a lot of it has to do with FT4.
You know, Bob, also more and more people are using.
And more, yeah, everything, you know, a rising tide and all that. And I'm not gonna get into the details of FT4 versus FT8, but that might be a good conversation to have at a Panera, you know.
Point out that also, remember we asked them, drop the power down?
Yeah, that's right. We took the power from 40 watts down to 25 watts,
Still made it.
and we still made a buttload of QSOs.
Next year, 5 watts.
Next year, 5 watts, we'll see.
I think a lot more clubs are operating FT4 this year.
Right. And the other thing, let me move this real quick so you can see it. If you look here, look at the QSO points. This is by far the largest QSO point here we've ever had, or at least since we've been, in the time I've been the chairman. It was a very good year I feel very good about it.
What'd be interesting, Bob, in the future, might have a column on the solar numbers this year versus last year versus 2 years.
And you know, at field day, I don't think it matters. Everybody gets on. But if you look at CW, the red relatively flat, kind of overall. You can see phone coming back up to where it was historically. But if you look at a digital, it's a, steady rise.
Bob, I'm gonna have to argue with you.
You
Condition-
would never argue with it.
Conditions matter because there's years that we made 0 contacts on 10 meters because of solar numbers.
Well, yeah, but that's 10. If you look at 20, 40, and 75 meter, that band's gonna be packed regardless. This is just a real quick operator report. We don't really keep score in the club, but if you operated, this has all the operators on it. You can get a feel for, how the operators did. I only had 264 QSOs. It was a slacker year. But it was a good mix. Tanya's in there at 72. Even Ed got 15, but it was a good year, good mix. Pete killed it, 429. Scott had another good year, Dennis, it was a lot of fun. Larry, you only needed 3 more to get 100. I should have told you.
Best I've ever hit.
Is it? Excellent.
What mode was that, mainly FT8 or side?
Larry was working phone. He did great on phone. Larry's a fantastic operator. But anyhow, that's what we had.
Do we know about club operators that operated it?
We do not. That's the one thing. Scott's question for those on Zoom, do we know about, those that submitted their score and put our club down? We do not. It'll take a long time to get that, and they don't share that ahead of time. The guy that does that, I have his email and cell number and everything, but he is really
He claims
he's wait till December.
No, he claims it'll be posted August 1.
Really? Oh, good.
We'll find out.
But that's and I'm just gonna go through here. The bonuses were fantastic. We had a really good year for bonuses. Like I said, the only areas we really missed on were we had 3 areas we could have done better. Satellite. We still didn't have a satellite QSO. And I understand they're hard at field day. So satellite QSO, we did not have an elected official visit us. And we only scored 20 points out of a possible 100 for youth on the air. Now, the educational activity, and Tanya sent me an email, the educational activity counted as 100 points.
That's great.
So that's a big chunk, but that's separate from the youth points, which are really geared toward youth getting on the air. So, but still, 1610 for bonus points.
Now, when people submit their operating from home, will that change our overall score, or it's just?
Yeah, well, it doesn't change our club score. Remember, when you are ranked in QST magazine against all the other 3As, and no, Jim, we're not going 4A. If you could produce 6 more operators committed, and we could have 20 operators, so we even go 4A. But with 14 operators, we're lucky to pull off 3A. We had a lot of gaps in operating. But I know from a standpoint of, in the standings, there are a lot less stations in 4A. And if you look at their numbers every year, quite often the 3A clubs will actually beat out the 4A clubs in their total score. But I like the little 3A competition in Virginia. It's always the same clubs. And there's always the one club who, God, I don't know what they're fueled with. They must have espresso machines next to every rig because their scores are just either they cheat or they're just really, really efficient.
So the people operating from home, it doesn't raise your score.
But to answer Ed's question, there's the score that you see where you are ranked in QST is the club score only. And then they put the aggregate score off to the right, but the ranking is based on just the club operator.
How many points did we get with GOTA?
GOTA QSOs are, I think the max QSOs you can get from GOTA, I think, is also 100, I think. We had an extremely light GOTA year, but I think we made up for it with the news reporter being on the radio.
And also, thanks to Dave for the W1AW formal message, or
Yeah, ARRL bulletin, that's another 100. Yeah, that's right. The ARRL bulletin from Dave Damon is another 100 points. It doesn't take much. Oh, and that one, the responsibility form, if you get on and read about the rules of field day, the responsibility form is not for the club to complete. That's for if you're operating from home, you could complete that form and submit it. Clubs use the safety checklist. Individuals use the responsibility checklist. So the club doesn't use, we don't get that 100-point opportunity because we have the safety checklist. If anybody has a question about that forward. Okay, discussion points for next year. We've already talked about a lot of more CW operators. You know, digital is rising. There's a lot of digital out there. There's also a lot of CW opportunity too. You know, what can we do to encourage more people to fill in? You know, especially at night. You know, it's really hard to fill in at night. The other thing is, again, I think we just need to commit to digital being at 25 watts, and that helps a lot for field day. We probably might want to do a little bit of an analysis of FT4 versus FT8, why, when, how. There's advantages to FT8. There are advantages to FT4 besides just 15 seconds versus 7.5. You've got the total, you know, how many QSOs can you really have potentially in FT4 versus FT8? You got the question of sensitivity and noise and blah, blah. So that's a whole discussion we could have. Yeah, Dennis?
Being that you're an ex-scout person, is there any way to contact scout leaders and tell them about this? No?
You know,
I mean, that's a great.
yeah, I really. Let's move over and talk about that. Let's talk about overall attendance, period. This is one of the most lightly attended public attending field days I think we've had.
Very few.
We had extremely few visitors.
And most of them were hams.
I think, yeah, most of the visitors were hams, and that's
Not necessarily
okay.
members of our club.
But as far as the public coming, I don't know whether it's field day burnout. Everybody's used to hearing about it.
The weather had
I
something.
don't know whether, yeah, it could be the weather. But you know what? We've had some brutally hot field days and had higher attendance. I don't know the answer to how to get the public interested in field day shy of
What about a different location?
a different location could be the answer. You know, where would be a more public place?
No, people don't want to hear this, but our T-shirt, when I was wearing this the week of field day, I had more people acknowledge that, hey, what is, you know, my grandfather was there because they put ham radio on.
Yeah, amateur radio.
It's
The
the
first,
first show up.
So
they didn't show up, but they
when
liked the shirt.
when they asked me about it, I told them about field day.
Yeah, yeah.
All of my pickleball friends.
They didn't show up.
Now
We
that,
spent $600 one year in ads and that didn't help.
Yeah, but I am gonna write to the league and let them know that from now on, you need to put amateur radio.
somewhere, I agree. But go ahead, Scott.
I'd go back to the location question, is that. You know, I live on the south side and I'm motivated, so I went and helped log CW for tennis for a while. But, you know, if I put on my hat of, you know, I'm a parent of a kid or I'm sort of kicking the tires, you know, it's kind of it's kind of nichey off on one side. I mean, I realize it happens to be
But we
near.
operated at the Emergency Communications Center on 250. 2 years in a row, and 1 year we had a lot of visitors, and 1 year we had 0.
You know,
So it's hard to analyze.
every year we talk about the location for field day. And the unfortunate thing is we are not allowed to be overnight at any park, county or city by law.
And it will not budge.
And not even if there were 80 of us, could we be overnight for one night.
Schooling,
Uh,
school, what about school?
I don't think anybody realizes how much this local situation, Free Bridge, irks me. because I've been trying to get field day one night at Darton Dow. As long as I've been field day chairman, and every year I get the same thing. Overnight is prohibited at all public parks in the city of Charlottesville. And, so I have called one and talked to him about that. But anyhow, I think we have good standing. Next year, I seriously am going to make a very strong case publicly that we are permitted to have one night at Darton Dow for our field day. And I'm gonna see where that gets me.
Is it Darton Town, Albemarle County?
It doesn't, they have the same,
They share
they share the same property. It's,
Okay.
but Darton Town is actually partially Albemarle, I believe, and partially the city. It's.
So when you make a reservation, it's Albemarle County and the city of Charlottesville Park Service.
It's a joint thing. They have the exact same overnight
Bob,
thing.
here's a question.
And I tried doing it at a school. And I found out that guess what? If you're off hours at an Albemarle County school, guess what regulations you fall under?
The county.
The county park regulations, not the school, the park. So
Got it.
literally shy of a church,
Another.
or somebody that owns a company that has a big honking field next to it.
Another major issue is the configuration of trees, like.
Well, trees, antennas, parking, bathroom
We have
facilities,
issues with antennas.
there are so many issues.
As a backup, you remember the Crozet Park? And they grilled me, oh my God, about, what's this? But I said, lady, it's been going on for years and years. But they finally relented and let us stay there. But we couldn't have visitors after that.
Yeah.
That was the problem.
Well, we don't have visitors at night. I mean,
What I-
if somebody, if they were to say that, for example, well,
No, it was access. They would lock the park up. So we couldn't have the other operators come in after 8 o'clock.
but that's kind of, some of the things I was thinking about. I think the trapped fan dipole and the off-center feds are kind of the way to go if we're gonna stick with dipoles. Should the club consider, building/buying?
I remember
A
all center fed dipoles don't work well on 15 meters.
Well, how many QSOs do we have on 15? Not many, just digital. This is digital. The bandpass filter stress, what's that?
I worked some on this.
Yeah, you were
The
cool.
last hour of the contest, pretty good on this.
I worked 15 digital and did pretty good.
We had dedicated antennas.
What were we using to track Joe's antenna on 15?
I think so.
That worked well.
And I think like I said, we had a good configuration of the bandpass filters. The big thing is the big void that I felt this field day was the low public attendance, almost no public attendance. Like Ed said, everybody that came was a ham except for the folks that came for your educational activity,
Prearranged.
the reporter. This is the lowest I've ever seen. One idea that was floated around was, the shops at Stonefields. We've always had that field, but I think that contact has gone away with Paul.
And the antenna configuration.
And the antenna configuration should be extremely difficult. So, it boils down to, what buildings are available. You can't go to like an abandoned parking lot. We can't go to the Kroger right there by Bodo's at 29 and 250, where they shut the Kroger down. You can't go in there because the insurance. None of these vacant stores. Dennis?
What it's worth, Ron Ritchie used to tell me years ago, the club would operate at a park in downtown Charlottesville. Some years they'd have 50 guests and some years they'd have 0. So it's hard to predict the public turnout.
Scott Stadium, we could put.
You can't do anything at UVA.
We could put 60,000 people in there.
UVA, for political reasons, does not allow any. You just can't.
What if we used the call, W4 UVA? No.
And if you did that, you'd be not operating as the Albemarle Amateur Radio Club. We would all be part of the student club. The reality is, go ahead, Scott.
Well, just as I'm sort of hearing it, it seems to me there are four parameters come to mind. If you up one, you can down it. I mean, you've got suitability of the facility, you've got location, you've got publicity, and you've got food. Yeah, you can have a terrible location, but if you publicize it well and.
Now, when you get
people
food,
don't
food's
go
not
there.
in there, we could get food anywhere.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if
The issue,
they play off against each
the
other.
big issues are this, okay? Number one, safety.
Right.
You know, nobody's talked about safety. You know, there's some bad stuff that happens in the city of Charlottesville. All right, read the news. There's some real bad stuff.
Right.
So now, one of the ultimate things is how safe is that location? Because when I look at a location as field day chairman, the number one thing for me is safety. If a storm kicks up and it gets really spiritual outside, where are you gonna go? Well, guess what? You all just go inside the fire cover. You're gonna be safe in there. If there's an accident, somebody needs emergency help, and we don't have a nurse on site, where are you gonna get some help? Well, we're right there at the fire company. If, you know, the fire company may be bad for the public, but it's good for antennas. They are extremely accommodating. By the way, we gave them a $300 donation after field day. They're extremely accommodating. It's easy access, plenty of parking, it's safe. And we have had good public attendance.
At that same
Historically,
location in the
I,
past.
I think the problem with field day, in my opinion, is the darn date.
It should be earlier in the month.
You know when field day should be? It should be the last full weekend of March. And let me tell you why. Here's why, I'll tell you the reason. From a ham radio perspective, the only thing going on other than that worldwide wadanger that goes on for like 3 weeks, the only thing going on in the last weekend of March in America is the Florida QSO party. That's the only ham event going on.
Bob, there's the
But
PX
I
contest.
think you kill two birds with one stone, because it might be field day for us, but it's winter field day for the folks in the. I really don't care about winter field day. If you look at winter field day numbers, they're very. Winter then. Yeah, winter field day is barely hanging on.
Bob, I think we're not gonna ever get the league to change field day.
No, we're not. But I think, because anyhow, long story short, I think the secret to getting people to field day is the youth. And so I think maybe the right thing to do is tie in more during the year, the school year, with STEM programs, and we all need to see where can we do like Benjamin and volunteer with these different youth organizations to try to promote field day. Now, Dennis mentioned scouting. They have their whole JODA event that they put on in Louisa County that is a huge coordinated JODA event. And it's heavily publicized in the Virginia Headwaters Council literature and their Tribune newsletter. So we as field day are kind of competing against a dedicated scout JODA event. I think
We also used a lot of social media this year and we still didn't get walk-ins. Next door. Facebook.
I think the only way you're gonna get walk-ins is, it's 8 o'clock, we're still okay. I think one of the only way we're gonna get walk-ins is to be in a location where we have walk-bys.
But we had walk-ins in the past at the same location. I think we just don't know the answer to that question.
I think I have the answer to that question. I think the answer is you need to be in a traffic area.
But Bob,
We need to find a safe traffic area we can be in.
we've had 10 or 15 walk-ins from the public at Earlysville Fire Company.
I'm not denying that, Ed.
And I don't know why.
What I'm saying, I'm not denying that. I know we have. I've been doing this 8 years.
I just don't know why.
Well, I think the why varies. Is it weather? Is it
It
something
was
else?
raining on and off.
Yeah, it was raining on
And
and
I
off.
think that was a big detriment, don't you?
But I think, maybe we do bite the bullet and look at Stonefield. It's an extremely high traffic area. It's extremely visible. In the back area, there's plenty of parking. The only issue we would have is facilities.
And antennas.
How about antennas?
Well, with the antennas, we could actually get by. One of the things we could do with antennas is we could literally erect 3 hex beams. They don't have to be real tall. We can point them in different, Dennis, I see you making faces. I worked a club a club that was 14A. And I emailed the guy after field day. You know what they have? 14 beams. They have 14, they have 14 beam antennas. We're only 3A. If they can do 14, how in God's green earth can't we, with all the mental brain power in this room,
Bob, is
figure out
that,
how to do
was
3?
that W3AO?
I,
I think
that
so.
sounds familiar.
Yeah, but their
But-
club
but
has 2 or
3
300
beams is not
members.
that many. And we could put 3 beams in Stonefield. It's not hard. We're supposed to be smart, right? Hey, if you have an amateur extra license, raise your hand. Get it up. Dennis, get your hand up. Can you figure out which way to point a beam?
Bob, but also remember we had beam antenna.
We had one thing, yeah.
Which was a hex beam, and just remember the amount of work that it took to get
He
the
talked
mass.
about-
Well, but we didn't have to be that tall. What I have found out for field day is these people do not put those beams up super high. They're not that tall. And I don't know, maybe that's the answer. You know, it depends, again, getting back to the very second slide. Everybody has a different idea of what makes a successful field day. If we want to raise our success in the area of public awareness, public attendance, youth getting on the radio, GOTA, if we want to make that pivot, I agree with Ed, we've had 15 guests show up at the fire company. But if we want to really have a high volume public event, like a lot of clubs do, I think we have to look at location and figure out the antennas.
Bob, let me
Just to
suggest 2
accommodate.
things. One, success of field day. As you said, everyone thinks it's something different. The public, to some clubs, it is not a big deal. That's point number 1. But number 2, if you're seriously would like to explore Stonefield, it's not too early to start touching base with their management team.
How about touching bases with the other clubs, see what their response was? In other words, did they get a lot of people and where were they located? Like Green County, for example,
Yeah, but,
Green didn't even have a field day this year.
Waynesboro, where,
yeah, I can tell you that
Brooklyn.
what I have seen on the Facebook page for field day. I was surprised how many of them have it at a fairgrounds. Many places have county fairgrounds and they have their field day at a fairground. And because when you think of a fairground during a county fair, the animals stay there overnight. So that fairgrounds by definition allow overnight because you have to be there during the
That's
fair.
where the Culpeper operates.
So, yeah, is that what called? Yeah, so the high attendance, a lot of these places that have a lot of public attendance, they'll have it in a place where the public are used to going. And Albemarle County Fair used to be down in North Garden at the boat, Boat Bryce, Boyd. What was the name of the farm down there? It was the Boyd.
No longer.
Yeah, it's no longer there, but that, that's an example of, if the Albemarle County Fair were still going on down there. And people were still used to visiting that location. And if you combine the field day with something else like raffling off a new Corvette, you could get people there. I personally. The year we were looking at Stonefield seriously, Paul was active and
He knew the.
we were this close to going to Stonefield.
I think they even did an interference test with
Yes.
tenants.
Then Stonefield offered us,
Use of the bathroom.
they offered us a vacant store where we could go in, get cooled off and use the restrooms.
Yes.
I mean, at that time, they were very accommodating.
It's all unfortunately new management. I'm not saying good or bad.
Yeah, the problem you run into with those kind of things is the insurance. It's the lawyers, it's not the managers. So I don't know. Any, Joe, what do you got?
I'm curious here, the location that we're using is so incredibly good and we have had, and like I said, it's said more than once, that very important, that we do get public people, they can be made, and you do it with the way we're talking about working on it during the year to try to enhance it, but how important is it if they don't show? How much are we losing if we don't get public showing? I don't know. I'm asking a question, but I don't know the answer.
It's a great question.
That, that's the essence of the question, right? Is field day for ham radio or is field day for the public and are we too far the other way? One of the things we've always said about this club, since I've been part of it, that I know we have had members come and go who didn't feel this way. But, some people feel it's all about the points. How many points you get? Why didn't you have an operator on every rig, every second of every bond, what was your pace? For some people, that's field day.
Bob, I think Dennis wasn't realizing not answer the question. The rain forecast was for a lot more rain. We went for several hours with not even a drop of rain, but the forecast on all three local networks here were it's gonna rain from 11 a.m. till noon. And people base their plans, they don't say, look out the window.
But here's what I submit to you though, Ed. If you had it at Stonefield, it wouldn't matter. Because people are still gonna be there buying their donuts, going out for their lunches. That's the difference between a high traffic area. Weather is very dependent, our success for public is very dependent. When you have a remote location, yes, you are dependent on the weather. If you have it at Stonefield where people are walking by you because they're going to get that donut that their dietitian told them they cannot have, but they had 3 of them. But
I did hear
the drive to get the donut is strong and they'll stop in and get sugar.
But then, we probably could.
Question though, I think it's really important to understand what his question is. Why does it matter?
Yeah.
Why is it so important for us to get these people going?
Right.
Mr. Joe, I can help you with that answer. And that answer is to
Does.
continue on what we do as ham radio operators.
Always to have fun.
Keep going and educate people. The reason why we're doing this is so we can get that education out there and get more people to understand how important it is, because cell phones don't always work. We have cell towers that are down. We need to be able to have that emergency contact, right? And this is how we exercise that ability to be able to utilize what we have already in existence.
I think we
It
have a
has to be a
responsibility.
year-round effort. It can't.
We have a responsibility to our hobby, to grow our hobby.
Right.
Good.
But we also have to grow our members.
Ian, what do you?
I set up at Nelson County Wayside out 29 in Nelson. Used to be some porta potties there, but somebody took it on themselves to burn them up. So people still stop. And I had 3 antennas set up, 1 shelter area. I was basically by myself. I had a dozen people stop and ask me questions. I spent more time talking than I did on the radio almost. I talked to one gentleman, he was a technician from Northern Virginia, for an hour. Tried to get him on the radio and he mic shot, wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
But he was asking, and he's like, well, how do I get into field day? So I told him to find out a club up near his house and he could join the club and do everything. But I had a bunch of people because traffic here was people were stopped. And I had a great time.
And you also have the intermittent rain, right?
Not as much as y'all did.
So the question becomes, where can we set up that's high visibility? So, we've got 10 months to think about it. So.
The other thing also is, as Ian was saying there, is it doesn't necessarily have, there can be outreach at times other than field day.
Right.
Yep.
And there can be outreach at field day, and if we don't need to only do one.
Right, you don't need to put all your outreach eggs in one basket.
Because I can see an afternoon at Stonyfield being just about as successful for outreach as 24 hours for field day. And I do worry. Public is great, but public is also, it's a gift that eats. All of a sudden, you really better have your coax cable so nobody can trip. You really need to keep an eye on stuff so things don't walk off. Because as we know, everybody wants your G2710 there, Bob.
Yeah, everybody does want that.
So, John, you're suggesting instead of parks on the air, we start shopping centers on the air.
Yeah, well, we could do that as well, but basically setting up sort of mini field days is not a bad way in terms of outreach.
Bob Patterson has always advocated Winter Field Day to use as an outreach.
See, the thing about Winter Field Day is it falls during the school year.
So we could do Winter Field Day at Stonefield. Perhaps, right? Or Crozet Park.
Crozet doesn't get the traffic, I don't think, does it?
Oh, there's a lot of pickleball players out there. That was a great location because you got a high density population, tons of kids out there.
In Crozet.
Yes.
And there was also the POTA event that we had, that you guys did, David.
Unfortunately, it was cold and rainy.
And Dennis did, yeah, no, boy. Cold.
Hey, I just got.
But it was, but that was that had a lot of people drop by to sort of ask. The secret was, of course, we were on the way to the dog park.
Did we cancel Winter Field Day just because it was too much, it was cold, right?
Too much winter.
It's too much winter.
What do you think of this idea? Dennis, you give me a really good idea. And John, you do too. Aren't there typically for a lot of these parks and community areas, like already youth activity that are like every Saturday we do this, or every, where you could get on a calendar for we're learning this, or then we're learning this.
They have swimming meets, they have all these things, programs going on during the summer, the kids are.
It's more like a community summer program.
Yeah, well, the thing is that there are also a lot of sort of community events, like there will be a, community safety event, and you go there and there's the hospitals all have booths, and the rescue squad has booths, and the emergency communication center had a booth, and so forth. And then there's another one that is dealing with, I'm trying to remember what some of the other ones do. One of them was dealing with sort of environmental issues. One of them was dealing with food issues.
I like food
security issues. And they had sort of a bunch of them, and the question would be to sort of identify what those things are on the calendar, and then see about renting a booth.
That's a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Dennis.
Got another idea.
Okay.
I know there's very few seniors here, but we just joined the senior center or whatever they call it. They have, remember I gave a presentation out there?
Yeah.
Yes.
The Belvedere?
I'm doing another one this month, by the way. They have a ton of trees surrounding that area. Huge parking lot.
I know, yeah.
We don't need to get seniors involved, but what I'm saying is that's a more central location. Maybe the senior center would let us do something.
For Field Day, you're saying?
Field day. They have restrooms, they have coffee shop.
I like coffee.
What about?
Let me throw another thing out here. It's a huge.
We
need an area that has a lot of area that we can set up.
Right.
Choice. Now, this may have been thought of before. What's wrong with here? It has.
I don't know what Piedmont's policies are
Have we
versus.
ever had?
We have to
Yeah,
have-
well, the other thing is also.
I know UVA is really strict.
Well, when it looked as if we couldn't get it early still, I took a look at places here at Piedmont where you might be able to set out field day. And the truth be told, there's really a lot of the stuff that's here are playing fields.
Yeah.
And those are booked up. during the summer. I mean, they've got, you know, somebody playing baseball or something like that. The other places, the places that you might be able to get into are things like, there's sort of that field when we're driving in, you look down the hill, and there's like, and the problem is it's down the hill. So your antennas will all be sort of down in a bowl. The other place that might conceivably be possible, but it's got sort of the same, some of the same issues, is if you go just sort of straight down the road, you know, go in a circle, but continue going in on the left by the Art Center.
That's down in.
But again, that's down sort of in a hole. There's not.
And the whole US is to the west of it.
Yeah, Piedmont, we can take a look, but I'm not really convinced that there's sort of an ideal spot, but because I was with you 100%, and then I looked at one, but hold on, they've got this all taken. I
He's
think,
gonna bring it up.
Yeah, anyhow, and
Hey, Bob,
I'm right.
you possibly exceeded your 15-minute limit. But I didn't make the motion for the vote.
What's that?
Before we forget, could you talk about the donation?
Oh, I mentioned it. We, every year, we do make a donation to the Early So Volunteer Fire Company.
We have.
And we have, not yet, we have. We need to vote.
Yeah, we need to, you're to make a motion on it.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because it's over, it's over
$300.
$10,000, so we need to take a vote. Yeah, no, yeah, we need, Ed, why don't you call it?
I'm moving.
You know, I'm gonna make a motion that we approve Larry sending a donation check for $300 to the Earlysville Volunteer Fire Company. I think they were awesome.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
Of course, relatively.
okay, so Larry's authorized.
All right, and that wraps up my portion of the meeting.
Seriously, that was great, Bob.
Oh, feedback, oh, yeah, what about the Zoom
Sitting
folks?
out there? Are they still there?
They might throw something else out of here.
Let's see if the Zoom people have any.
So people. I'm obviously. Wait, Jim Owens got some chat. On the chat.
Okay,
Generally speaking, wants to be an emergency. Have an emergency response, that's the reason for field day.
that's one of the.
Okay, we have one of the best repeater systems in the area.
I think,
There is one problem. Nobody monitors. Last night, we had a potential emergency in my area. At noontime yesterday, we lost, not only did we lose telephone and DSL, we lost cell phone at the same time. So we had no communication down there except ham radio. I could not raise anybody on the repeater.
What time of day?
I tried.
Are we on the
2 hours to get
895?
somebody to answer me. I was just wanting, somebody there could monitor it. If a house caught on fire or something, we could get a telephone call through. Nobody monitored.
What time of day was that?
what time was it?
I started calling by 8 o'clock at night. Roughly, eight,
Sadly, that's a national problem, that repeaters are underutilized.
I was wondering, the 895. Hey, I always have my radio on. I didn't hear a thing. Well, I was wondering the 895. I didn't hear anything
I
around
was
that.
on 895.
Yeah, they're all
Last
linked.
night was the Monday night information.
Were you on?
At 8 o'clock, then I would talk to Joe until about 9.
So,
Jim, did you hear a QSO between John and Joe?
Oh.
You sure you were on 895?
Going on quite a while.
I heard you guys.
Yeah, we chatted.
Huh?
About
You heard it too?
Does anybody know why there's no cell phone or telephone in the area? Nobody came back to me and I called a couple of times.
I was listening to these guys. I was looking at John because I'm like, weren't you talking to Joe?
And then I spoke to another guy for close to an hour on the Dave. Not Dave.
It must have been after that then that I called.
Anyhow.
So monitor is Peter will take you. You're right.
Monday night.
All right, Ed, you wanna wrap this up? Call the wrap?
Okay, now, I'm gonna introduce Jim Wilson,